Hi there, Forest River owners. Today in your 2018 Forest River Flagstaff V-Lite, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install Lippert's SolidStep. And this is what our steps look like when they're installed. You can see the underslung are no longer present for additional accessories that the customer wanted to have installed. But if that's the case on your motorhome and you're wanting to add some accessories where your steps are in the way, this is one of the best upgrades that you can do to get a more stable step while also getting more clearance for those objects you want to install. And even if you didn't have something that you were trying to clear out room for, this is still an upgrade because you can enjoy a much more stable step with these ones because we have contact to the ground. The steps are stored inside, so they do fold up. Some people dislike this for a few reasons, such as loading up their camper, because you can't just open the door and throw stuff in. You got steps in the way, so you will have to drop those steps down. So some people dislike that, but as far as the stability of the steps, that's really where you can't be beat, as well as the space saving underneath for components. Go ahead and press our lever to the side to lower it down. Our feet are adjustable with the pin here to set to the appropriate length, and each one can be adjusted independently if you've got some uneven surfaces. And with the contact to the ground, I mean, it's like walking into just any regular old building. It feels very stable. You can see how long the step is as well. This is a monstrous foot pad. I wear size 13 shoe, and you can see there that it's pretty much edge to edge for my foot. So I've got tons of clearance. We also have textured surfaces on the steps to increase your grip. So on those wet days, the moisture can go down the grooves, and you'll have the raised grooves for additional traction, as well as the grip tape there for even further increased traction in slippery weather. So here we have our underslung style. This is installed on the same trailer here. This is just the front door versus the back. This is give you a good idea of the difference between the two. So our underslung here, you can see how much space they take up here in this lower section. So if you have accessories you're wanting to put there, it's going to take up all that space. Our steps fold out from underneath, which is a little bit easier to pull out than opening your door and lowering down the larger steps. But you can see we've got no contact to the ground. We're just supported by the frame of our trailer here, and when I step on it, there's quite a bit of movement in the steps. I mean, there's a little bit of bounce to them when you step on them. It doesn't feel nearly as stable as the other ones. And as far as the width of our step pads here, not even close as far as the surface area that we've got on the other ones. Now, they don't feel terrible. Of course, they're going to work, and people do like the fact that regardless of your steps being out, you can still have them in. You can throw your gear right in here. People do like that. This customer, I think, did a great option in choosing to install the steps for one door while leaving this one open. That way you can still load up in this door and enjoy a more stable step for his typical exit and entryway that he's going to use to go inside of the trailer. We'll begin our installation here with our door open. The first thing we need to do is measure to determine the steps that are going to be appropriate. So you'll want to measure the inside gap, side to side. We need to know that to know how wide the steps that are going to fit in here. And you also want to measure from the ground to the threshold here so you know how many steps you're going to need when it folds out to touch the ground. So those are kind of your two most important measurements. It is also important to know kind of the distance here to know that it's going to fit. We have enough room here, even though our beds here, our steps are going to fit. But the width of the steps can also be important. If we just take a quick measurement of that, we're looking at about a maximum depth, just over right about 10.5 inches is the depth that we're looking at there. And that may vary slightly between the different widths of steps, but it should be pretty close to that. So once you've determined the size and you got the right steps, then we can start installing it. And the first thing we're going to want to do is this trim piece here. In some cases, you can leave the trim piece in place if it's small enough, but this trim piece is going to be too large. That's going to extend too far inward. That's going to not allow our steps to sit properly here. So we are going to take this trim piece off. It just runs along the bottom here. We're using a square bit to remove it, a number 2, but you could also use a Phillips bit. After we get that off of there, we'll just set that aside. And we'll just set our steps in there right now. And it's important that this lip here is all the way up against the surface, because when we close our door, the bottom seal there is going to seal across that, so it does have to be all the way in. Next, we want to center our stairs left to right. So I'm just double checking the measurement there, verifying where it is over on this side. We need to go slightly this direction. Recheck. And that's centered right there. So now that we've got them centered in the doorway with it all the way pushed back, we need to now get our hinge secured to the floor. These little caps here, they pull up and they will reveal an access hole to be able to install your fasteners. And we're just gonna run them right down into there. We know we're centered, we know we're all the way up, so we're ready to run it in. All right, so now that we've got our pilot bit here, we're just gonna put it right in the center, make ourselves a nice little pilot hole there. After we've got our pilot hole in place, these are gonna be just regular Phillips. So we're gonna switch out that square bit to a Phillips and then just run this right in place. All right, now that we've got that one run in, we're gonna do the same thing over here on the other side. And then we'll run this one in. All right, so now that we've got those both run in, we're gonna grab our hardware out of there, move our tools out of the way, because we're getting ready to lift our steps up here momentarily. And now pivot the steps upward so they sit in position. Now we are gonna be a little bit beyond where they need to go. We can rest it on our bed here, and actually we can probably just leave it there and finish installing our screws, and then we can adjust our latches after that. So we're gonna just drill each one of those with a slight pilot hole, and then we will run our fasteners in place there. So the next thing we're gonna do is adjust our latches here. So we can go ahead and loosen up the fasteners there. We're using an 11 millimeter or also a 7/16 will work. They're a very similar size. We'll also loosen the one there in the middle. Same on this side. All right, we can then bring it out a little bit, adjust our mechanisms over. And we want it to be at a point where it will latch in place. So there we go. We've got them slid in and the latch is on the other side on each one. So now we'll just snug this down. Then we'll come back to the middle on our handle here. If we look at it here, if you turn it to the left or to the right, that's going to cause the mechanism to go inward, releasing it. So we want to put it in the straight down position. That's going to be the widest that the mechanism can get. And we're also going to slide this bar over so that way it grabs our latch mechanism there, just to where it's hooked under the head. We don't want to actually be pulling it. And then we'll snug this back down. And we're going to do the same thing over on the other side. And now you can see when you turn the handle in either direction, it pulls and releases. And you might take a moment to just adjust everything. Might have to try it a couple of times, just check its operation, see how it's working, and snug everything down. And once you're satisfied with your adjustment, verify that it lowers down and raises easily. Also double check your door, make sure that your door can shut appropriately. Everything seemed good there. So at that point, all that's left is to just reinsert the caps. And then we'll probably take a vacuum and just clean up any little bit of wood chippings that occurred from running our screws in, and then we're ready to roll. And that completes our installation of Lippert's SolidStep on our 2018 Forest River Flagstaff V-Lite.